All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Valerie?
Gary,
How are you?
I'm currently a sweaty mess. How are you?
You know what? I feel like we're going to have a lot in common in this podcast, but one thing I can say that less than a minute in, we already have that in common. I am also a sweaty mess.
My 16-year-old cousin and I just did my day 61 workout called Cardio Meltdown.
Meltdown.
Right? So basically, I'm going to have her record. We recorded some of the moves, but think about doing a burpee and then doing what's called a lightning bolt, where you jump up with both legs and one knee comes to your chest and the other leg goes out. So you make a lightning bolt with your feet.
Oh my God. You guys are on some next level shit. I got to tell you what.
It's really hard. I don't know how I do it, but it's good. It's good.
I like to think that my mobility is pretty good and I can do some wild stuff, but I think you guys are on like an entirely different level. Like, I don't know, like I might need like a week or two and I might be able to do something with that. But until then, I'm just thinking like, man, Valerie's pretty wild. She's pretty crazy doing some wild moves.
Well, how about this? I'll come to Flying Pig and you can do burpee bolts with me. How about that?
All right. Fair enough. You got yourself a deal. We're going to virtually handshake on it.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, okay, so I sent you a message like 3 minutes ago, roughly. I walked in the door 2 minutes prior to that, threw down my bag. I didn't even change because you know what? It's not like we're in the same room and we're going to smell the sweat or the body, odors that might occur after a workout. Speaking for myself, a big guy here, but yeah, I literally walked in and I plumped down in the chair and here we are on a podcast. I did not think that, I did not imagine that it was going to be just this way, right from the workout, right to the podcast, but I like it. We're just going to keep things moving.
What workout did you do today?
I was on the treadmill today running. Not running the entire time because I never do that under any circumstances because I stink at it. But I will tell you that more like interval type stuff where, you jog a little bit, you run a little bit, and then you walk a little bit and you just bring it up, basically getting my heart rate up for like a minute or two at a time and then bringing it down, bringing it up, bringing it down like a light switch. You turn that thing on and off. That's kind of what I was doing.
That's the only way to do it, I tell you.
Really? Is that your that's your preferred method?
Yeah. So what I do is I interval run. So when I'm at a good training period in my life, I should say.
Yes.
I typically do a 5-1. So run for 5 minutes, walk for a minute, run for 5 minutes, walk for a minute.
All right. That's goals right there. Because right now, at best, I might be able to run for 1.5 to 2 minutes, which I still think is fine. For somebody like me that has really no like legit running background whatsoever, I think that's pretty okay.
Yeah. Have you ever went to a running store and had your gait analyzed?
I have never done that.
So one of the most important things that I learned, so I did my 3 half marathons all with Team and Training.
Right.
because they raised money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I lost my mom to leukemia in 2005.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So my first season, I'm like, I've always wanted to do a half marathon. Now sounds like to be a great time, you know?
Yeah.
I really I thought this through really well. And I joined up with team, and one of the first things we did on a Saturday is we went to this running store down in the Bay Area where I was living at the time, and they put you on a treadmill and they analyze your gait, and they tell you based on your gait the type of shoe that you should get. They also offer you inserts that mold to your specific foot style, whether you have a high arch, no arch, things like that.
Right.
And it changed my running mechanics completely. And it also changed the fact that I don't have back pain anymore.
No kidding.
No.
That's incredible. Yeah. I need to, I know of a local running place here. I need to go seek these people out already.
Definitely. I have a leg length discrepancy. And most people do, right? One leg a little longer than the other.
Okay. Yeah.
I end up having to get special inserts for my shoes, and then also getting a tiny little lift about 5 millimeters to put in one shoe.
Yeah.
And it's made a world of difference for my hips, because now my hips don't sit off anymore. My low back isn't off. It doesn't hurt. I'm telling you, it's the way to go.
You know what I love, Valerie? I've done probably, this is going to be like episode 121, 122, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe even 123. Every single episode, I feel like I learned something new.
Yeah.
Every single episode.
Isn't that what happens to us in old age, Gary?
Now, what are you trying to say? Come on now. We just got on here 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago, and you're already like throwing the old thing. Like, look, I know that I'm old. Okay.
Oh, trust me. I feel it after that workout. I feel like I'm about 98 right about now.
Oh, oof. I was feeling it, because what I was doing was every time I was running, I was kind of like, when I'd go back to the running part, I'd increase the speed just a little bit. I think the highest I got was like 9 miles an hour. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm just like, what are you doing, Gary? What are you doing?
I think the fastest I've ever ran on a treadmill is 7 miles an hour. And I was pretty damn proud of that. And I did it for about 32 seconds and hopped off.
I know that feeling. Let me tell you, my move is I normally will like mash the buttons down as quick as I can when I'm ready to give up on it for a second. I never done the jump off, because I always have this fear that like I'm going to jump the wrong way and like break my ankle or something. It's like silly, weird phobia kind of thing. But I just feel like I'm just going to like, bend my ankle or my knee or something and just do like some really weird, ugly fall that you see in a meme somewhere.
Have you ever had a treadmill burn?
No, I haven't. I never had that. What do you mean when you say treadmill burn? Like the treadmill catches fire?
No, I mean, sometimes I want to light it on fire, but when you're on the treadmill and say you go to do that jump and you say you don't hit the sideboard and you hit your footing.
Yes.
So it scrapes your shoe. Well, I've had it to where I've lost my footing completely and my knee has hit the belt while the belt's still running.
Oh, good
and
Lord.
Took all the skin off the front of my knee.
Oh, good Lord. I just got chills thinking about that. Oof.
Treadmill 1, Valerie, -5.
That sounds awful. Now, how long did it take you to recover from that?
Oh, I don't think I stepped on a treadmill for about 4 months after that.
I don't blame you.
I was traumatized after that.
Yeah, I would be too. Believe me. Before we get into some of like the serious kind of stuff, you went to a concert last night. How was that?
It was amazing. So I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest Florida Georgia Line fan.
Okay.
And they put on one hell of a show.
They put on one of the best shows that I've seen now. I think if we're talking strictly like country, and I don't know, is that like your primary focus of music, or do you like a little bit of everything?
Country's my primary focus. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So you'll understand this, or you'll at least understand where I'm coming from. I think right now, like the best bang for your buck is Luke Combs. As far as like live performance, I think he just absolutely dominates the game. But as far as like big top tier acts, like on the very tippy top of stars, it's really hard to beat a Florida Georgia Line. Thomas Rhett's right up there with them. Maybe a Luke Bryan, although once you've seen him once or twice, you've seen it all with him. I think he's still good. I don't want to make it sound like an insult, but so how was this concert last night? Amazing, right?
It was crazy. So Morgan Wallen opened up for them.
I love him.
He's got that hit song Whiskey Glasses.
Yes.
He's amazing. He's a great artist. Although his mullet needs to go. I took one look because when we walked in, he was on the stage. We hit some traffic, of course, right, with any night type concert.
Sure.
And I drove down from Reno to the Sacramento area to go to this concert yesterday after work. So we get there and we're in line to get a drink, which I paid $25 for a very tall strawberry daiquiri last night. So
good Lord.
I know. And the thing is like, I drank it all and I was like, I feel a slight bit of a buzz, but for $25, I should be drunk right now.
Yeah, you probably could have pre-gamed in the parking lot if you were a little bit earlier, because that's when I was a big drinker. That's what I did. I would pre-game in the parking lot. I mean, I would probably down a whole bottle before I even walked in the door.
I'm usually a pre-gamer, but I had my 16-year-old cousin with me last night, so you can't get too crazy on a Thursday when you got a minor with you. So
and you're the one driving, right?
I was the one driving. It was me, my aunt, and my cousin.
Okay. Yeah. You gotta be definitely responsible, a responsible adult, as they say.
But I will say, Dan and Shay put
Yes.
on they were the highlight of that concert last night. They put on an amazing performance.
I love hearing you say that, because when I saw this tour, they came through my area in the month of August. So by the time people are hearing this, it's October, but when we're talking, it's still September. And they were, for me, like, it's incredible because Shay Mooney is like one of the greatest singers in the game. Like, and I'm talking about all genres, not just country, because their music is hitting some top 40 radio. It's kind of in the pop world a little bit, as much as it is country. And that guy's voice is just, I mean, it's unmatchable for what they're doing. I mean, he's phenomenal.
His range is incredible.
Yes.
His falsetto is one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard.
I'll tell you what, I went to, in 2017, I got one of their meet and greets back when they were on the rise. Back then, you could get the meet and greets for under $100. When they start getting to the tippy top, you're paying 150, 175. I think I paid 75, and they did like 2 or 3 acoustic songs in a small room. And to hear him with no processing whatsoever, he didn't have a microphone in front of his face. He was just singing. And I was just like, my God, this guy is like, his voice is heavenly. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of meet and greets,
yes,
I'm very jealous of your father-in-law who got to meet Scotty McCreery.
No kidding.
Yeah. I watched that. I think you put up an IGTV of it, right?
Yes, I did.
And I watched it and I'm just like, first of all, his reaction was the best. Such a sweet gesture for you to do that for him. But I remember when Scotty McCreery came on American Idol, my ex and I were sitting there, we were watching it because of course I made him watch all the shows he hated.
Yes.
And that's what wives do.
Yes.
And from the very beginning, he starts singing Long Black Train, right? And he gets into it and Matt looks over at me and he goes, he's going to win American Idol. I said, you're full of shit.
Right.
Well, clearly I wasn't full of shit. That boy is so talented.
Oh, I know. Did you ever used to love to watch that show and try to predict like the top 10 or even the winner?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. I did that a lot.
Carrie Underwood on her season, Philip Phillips on his season, and Lee DeWise is one of those guys that most people don't know about. But I think he was the one who was working in a paint store, his family's paint store, and he would go out and do open mic nights. And then he came on American Idol and he won. He didn't blow up as big as, some of the artists. He's not a Kelly Clarkson. He's not a Carrie Underwood. He's not a Scotty McCreery. But he's one of those guys that just has this amazing kind of rock feel to his voice.
Yeah, I called David Cook, and I feel like at the time he was like criminally underrated. I mean, I thought he was just phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed him. He was one of the last of the winners that I thought had a chance to be like a big star, and it just never happened. I mean, he never really got off the ground. He put out one like hit record that was, when I say hit, I'm kind of using that term loosely, but after that, he was just kind of relegated to like the smaller venues, and I think he still plays like, the smallest of the clubs, and it's a shame because that guy was really good, and I'm sure he probably still is. I just haven't seen or heard from him in years.
one thing that I did back in April, right around my birthday. So, it's no surprise. I've told people I, recently went through a divorce, and I've been trying to kind of just get out there more, be a bit more social, try things, I never tried.
Sure.
Kind of just the whole finding myself journey, right?
Yeah.
So back in April, I went to this bar down in Carson City, Nevada with a couple of my friends, and they had an open mic night. Well, for the first time ever in my life, I got up on stage completely sober, mind you, and did my first open. I didn't do it that night, but the week later, we went down again, and I got up on stage and did an open mic night.
Now, were you playing an instrument, or you're just singing?
Nope, just singing.
Wow, that's awesome. And what did you sing? What do you recall singing?
What did I sing? Goodness gracious. I should remember this now that you put me on the spot.
That's what we do
Maddie,
here.
It was right. It was Maddie and Tay's Die from a Broken Heart.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's a strong one right there.
Which was a bit of a somber song for a bar, but I didn't pick it. So
no, people, they'll get into that stuff. You start hitting the right notes, and people, they can get invested in it. Anytime a song's like that, like a ballad type song, you hit it in the right way, people are gonna, I tend to cling to those songs personally.
Yeah, you get a bunch of drunk, emotional people and sing an emotional song, they're gonna react.
I know. I don't know what it is. Just the music in general, I cling to those kind of songs. I don't know why. Like, even when I'm in a good mood, like just for some reason, I guess I just emotionally invest stronger in those songs versus like more upbeat stuff. But I still listen to upbeat. I still like plenty of upbeat stuff, but for whatever reason, ballads are the things that I cling to the strongest.
There's a Carrie Underwood. I don't know if it's on her newest. I think it might be on her newest album that she put out about a year or so ago now.
Yeah.
I think it's called His Kingdom, and it's a song about her and her husband and how, everything that they do is for him and for God, and just, it's a beautiful song. And her voice, I mean, nobody can sing like Carrie Underwood. No one will ever be a Carrie Underwood.
She's
just
pretty
like,
phenomenal.
Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, like those timeless, Reba McEntire, like those timeless classic voices that are just, she's going to be up there, in the coming years of just someone who's never going to be touched.
Yeah, she's on a whole level all her own. I mean, she's put out so many good stuff. I remember I was in a club last year at a Chris Lane concert, and the guy put on one of the songs that wasn't a single on the radio yet, the song Southbound. And I was like, man, and that was more like your upbeat, catchy kind of stuff. And even that, like, I think her voice probably shines the best in ballad type stuff, but even a song like that, it's like an upbeat kind of pop hooky kind of thing. She just nailed it. Everything she does, she turns to gold for sure.
I mean, think of, so she did Randy Travis's I Told You So. I don't know if you ever heard her rendition of that song. It's completely gorgeous. But then something catchy like Before He Cheats or Cowboy Casanova, like and Champion that she did with Ludacris, which is a song that I play on my Instagram stories a lot. I mean, these songs are just, she can do no wrong in my eyes. I don't think I've ever heard a Carrie Underwood song that I did not like.
I think the first one I heard, because I heard of her after Idol, the first one I heard was Wasted from her first record, and I was like, wow, this woman's on a whole other level right here. She was just belting it out.
You were absolutely right.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you saw this concert last night, and it was just the three of them. They didn't have another guy, like a fourth guy, because when I went there, they had Hardy opening for them all.
They had in the intermission between Dan and Shay and Florida Georgia Line, Dylan Schneider came up on stage and did a song, and then he came out during Florida Georgia Line's set as well. Young kid, I haven't even heard his music, but he sounded pretty good.
Right on. You have a favorite Florida Georgia Line song?
I really like Holy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. And then of course with Dan and Shay, Speechless. There's no song that can surpass that. It's such a beautiful song. That's actually the t-shirt that I got from the concert last night, has all the lyrics to the song on the back.
No, that's a great song. But if you want to go deep cuts, and I don't know how deep you go with Dan and Shay, but Lately on the second record is pretty strong. I really like that one. And speaking of deep cuts, Florida Georgia Line on the Dig Your Roots album, the track title, Dig Your Roots, is a banger of a song. The words are completely related. I mean, that whole record, that record came out a day before my birthday 3 years ago. And I remember just playing it on repeat for weeks. But that song in particular just stuck out like a sore thumb. So if you probably have heard them in passing, but at some point go back and listen to Lately, Dan and Shay, Dig Your Roots, Florida Georgia Line, and tell me what you think if you're not familiar with them off the top of your head.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, those are great. And so you told me that you thought you might wake up today a little hungover. How did you feel when you woke up this morning?
No, I felt good. I stuck to my one drink rule.
Yeah.
My aunt and I both had one drink, and I mean, so last night, the concert ended about 11 o'clock.
Right.
We waited about an hour for the parking lot to die down.
Yes.
And it was really funny. I look over at my cousin and I'm like, Julia, I'm not at my step goal because I'm in Amy, Gem of the Gems, step bet for the month of September. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not at my step goal yet. Can we go walk around the parking lot? So her and I went walking around, and of course you're entertained by all the intoxicated people in the parking lot.
Of course.
So we did that, and then we went and grabbed some food real quick. We got home about a little after midnight. And I looked at her and I go, so technically, my day 60 is over because it's after midnight, but we got a workout to do. So we cleared out space in my nephew's bedroom where we're sleeping, and we did my day 60 workout, which luckily it was all just stretching, which actually was really good to do after, dancing at a concert all night.
Sure.
So that was good. And then this morning we both slept in, but by I think it was 11 a.m. I woke Julia up and I'm like, come on, we got to get moving. We got to get this done. So we drank some pre-workout. We walked my nephew. We walked my dog with my nephew. I mean, I guess we kind of walked my nephew too, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's how it is with kids. And then we came inside and got the workout done and got our asses kicked. And then it was time to hop on with you. So we're just rolling with it today.
I love it. You said, so today is day 61, right? Is that what you said?
Yep. Today is day 61 of 100. So for the last 61 days, I've done one workout every single day.
That is phenomenal. How did this idea come about as far as jumping on this 100-day challenge?
So this is a program through Beachbody. It's called, the name of the program is Morning Meltdown 100. So it's designed for people who want to work out. The way that it's designed, there's 10 blocks of 10 workouts split up into 5 phases. So 20 workouts per phase. And every 5th day it's yoga. Every 10th day is stretching. So there's 2 active recovery days built in, but you can do it however you want. The way that it was designed is 100 workouts in 100 days. So that's what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I had met a friend on Instagram. Her name is Morgan. And we met back in October. And she reached out to me, just to say that my journey was inspiring. And, that she was a Beachbody coach, and that if I ever had any questions about Beachbody or any of the programs, I can reach out to her. And we had talked previously. So she wasn't that person that would, with some Beachbody coaches, and I'm going to throw them all under the bus right now, would reach out to you. If you say no, they never talk to you again. They unfollow you. They never, send you messages. They never comment on your stuff. They don't support you.
Oh, yeah.
Morgan was that person who, when I said, you know what, no, thank you, I'm not interested, she'd be like, cool. And then I'd post something a couple of days later. Hey, you're doing a great job. You're getting up in the morning and doing this. That inspires me to get up and do something. So she was always very supportive of me, no matter how many times I told her no. Now, I will say I told her no 8 times.
8 times. She was very persistent, huh?
She was. And that's the thing, because not everyone's ready when you first reach out. That's with anything weight loss related, right? We all know that. We all have to be ready to dive into this.
Sure.
So in June, she came at me and she said, hey, this program's launching July 29th. We have a special promo. I have an extra promo code off. Are you ready to join? And I said, you know what? Absolutely. And it was just the timing of my life in terms of, the decision had been made to get divorced. And I was just at the point where I was like, I want to do something for me. I mean, I've been on this journey for 2.5 years at this point. I've done great. I've lost, 55 pounds, but I want to continue. I want to do more. And so when I joined up with them a month later, the program launched, and I've just been rocking it ever since. I actually just checked in and did my measurements today for day 60. In 60 days, I'm down over 6 inches off my body, and I'm down 7 pounds.
That's phenomenal. That really is. I mean, and I think the inches thing is really key there, because a lot of people they'll obviously focus on the scale, and you'll probably get people that are thinking, oh my God, only 7 pounds, blah 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 blah. But I mean, in reality, I mean, you've done some amazing stuff here.
Yeah, and I mean, in the past, I'm not sure how familiar you are with my story, but in 2012 I lost weight for my wedding, gained it back. In 2014 I lost weight when my nephew was born. So October of 2014, I got down to 193 pounds from 285 was my heaviest.
Right.
So I had lost 92 pounds.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. Within 2 years, about 2 years, I gained 72 pounds of that 92 back.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to some of us. You know what I mean? I mean, it's life gets in the way.
I was back up to 271 January 1st of 2017, and I weighed in today at 212 pounds.
That is awesome. I'm virtually fist bumping you. You can't see this, but just throw your fist up and then just pretend that it's there. No, I mean, that's truly phenomenal. And I think that, there are going to be obviously some people listening to this that are a part of our community on Instagram. And if you're not a part of that community, you should be a part of that community. If you're listening to this kind of podcast, I feel like you probably should, join in with us. However, for those, people that may not be kind of familiar with some of your story and things like that, I guess we could start it like this. 25 minutes in as where we're going to the beginning here. I mean, if you had to kind of really put your life, like for somebody that's like looking from 300 feet up and they're looking down, like in a couple of sentences, how would you describe, kind of like yourself, your life up to this point, like your story, kind of give us the quick background of it. And so we can really dive into this thing.
Growing up, I was pretty much overweight most of my life. I grew up with a mother and father who fought all the time.
Oh yeah.
And who struggled financially. My mom had a hard time holding down a job, and my dad worked auto glass for his entire working career, putting in windshields. And my parents divorced when I was 8 years old. I lived with my dad for a little while with my sister. Then we moved in with my mom, and then we split back. She went to my dad. I stayed with my mom. And unfortunately for me, I was taught from a very young age that fast food is an acceptable source of food.
Yes.
It was affordable for my parents. They were able to, feed us a lot of food for not a lot of money. Dollar Menu was our best friend. When my mom passed away in February of 2005, I was a few months shy of my 19th birthday, and that was the first time that I was truly on my own. And I was eating fast food probably 5 days a week.
You're going with what you know.
Yep.
I can relate to that because, I mean, my mother at a time worked 3 jobs because my dad's money was his money, and she worked 3 jobs to support me and her. And, fast food was definitely there. I mean, there were times where she had time to cook, obviously, but other times, a lot of times it was, hey, let's go to McDonald's, let's go to KFC, like whatever, Burger King, whatever, like this is where we're going to go. Here's a little kid's Happy Meal. And yeah, there you go.
And then you got your toy and you were set for life.
Of course, right? And you collect all of them. You throw them in a box somewhere.
Do you remember when McDonald's had those little trolls?
Ah, the little trolls. You remember like around what year maybe?
90s.
Okay. I feel
90,
like
let's say 96, 95.
I think I was off the Happy Meal kick at that point. I was like too cool for the room. Now I'm on Big Macs, double fisting Big Macs. What's up?
Just remember, like on my windowsill in my bedroom, I had all the little like McDonald's toys just like chilling on a display. In my childhood bedroom. I was really cool when I was a kid, by the way.
I believe it.
But it started with that, and then my journey was kind of prompted. After my mom had passed away and I had finished my first part of schooling, I went and lived with my grandpa to help take care of him because my mom was his only child. And I started eating better because my grandpa cooked 3 meals a day. So that got to be good.
Yeah.
And then he passed away in August of 2010. So my life has had a lot of like major loss in terms of grandparents, my mom, my stepmom, things like that. And I just Christmas 2010, I remember actually in August, I should backtrack a little bit. It was his funeral. And I went into my closet to get a pair of, nice slacks to wear to the service. Cause I I was a fat girl. I didn't wear no dresses. I didn't wear no skirts. Like, put me in pants, cover me up.
Sure.
I'm good. I went into my closet and I remember they were a size 20 and they didn't fit. So I had to go buy a size 22. And that kind of was it was kind of a light switch had turned on, but it wasn't the catalyst to change yet. It was just, it made me more conscious of where I'm at. So fast forward to Christmas that year, my sister had got engaged. And they had planned a wedding for August of 2011. And I remember looking at pictures because that was mine and Matt's first Christmas together. And I was actually, my cousin Julia was in some of these photos. And I just looked at myself and I went, it was kind of a side view. And I said, I look pregnant and I'm not pregnant.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to look pregnant in my sister's wedding photos. So that started my first attempt at weight loss in January of 2011. So I've been on this weight loss bandwagon, if you will, for lack of a better term, for 8 years, over 8 years now. And I lost maybe 20 pounds for her wedding. And I felt good. You know, I had gotten my dress early that year and I had to have it taken in a little bit, but I still wore Spanx under my dress and I was still very uncomfortable during her ceremony.
Yeah.
And a month after my sister's wedding, Matt proposed to me, and I had, you know, at that point we got my sister's wedding pictures, right? They were starting to come in from the professional photographer. And I said, there is no way in hell I'm going to look like that at my wedding. So January 1st, shedding for the wedding. I tell you, it's one of those motivating factors for a lot of women.
Yeah.
January 1st of 2012, I think I was probably 260-ish, maybe 255.
Okay.
And by my wedding, I was down to 205 in September of the next year. So I was very motivated and I felt like a princess on my wedding day, which is how every woman should feel.
Of course.
It was great. But then life happens. I had another cancer diagnosis in 2013 and it was too hard. We had actually, a month after my wedding, my stepmom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and she passed. From diagnosis to passing was about 5 months. So she passed in April of 2013. In November of 2013, I found out that I had cervical cancer yet again. And it just, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
My world had come crashing down with another major loss of, you know, a parent. And I was completely lost. Now, on top of all this, I have hypothyroidism, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I'm insulin resistant. So I have 3 autoimmune disorders that work against me every single day in terms of weight loss.
Yes.
So the fact that I've found some way to get my body to lose weight is pretty freaking cool, because it would be easy for me to just say, oh, well, I have these 3 things, I'm going to be overweight for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they'll think that and they just feel like, you know, the room is very dark. They don't know which direction to walk into and they kind of just sit down and just you kind of do nothing. They stay in like a state of, you know, just kind of no movement at all.
There have been times where I felt like I was eating like a rabbit, working out twice a day, and I would gain 5 pounds in a week. And it was happening. It was happening. It happened for a lot of my weight gain from 2014 to 2017 was my thyroid related, and they couldn't regulate it. They couldn't find the right, you know, types of medication. No matter what I was doing, I was just continually putting weight on, especially in 2015. I had hit my low and it was great. But the way that I had hit my low, and I've talked about this on my podcast a few times, I would track everything on MyFitnessPal.
Yes.
And if I thought I went over a macro or I went over my calories, I would skip a meal. So although I got down to 193 and I felt good about myself, my relationship with food was so broken.
Yeah.
It was completely broken. And I was doing meal replacement shakes at the time. So I wasn't even actually eating food. It was everything about that whole time in my life, I feel like, was so unhealthy compared to where I'm at now.
Right. So the relationship is broken, but in the other way, because when a lot of people think broken relationship with food, they think, oh, you know, overeating, that kind of stuff. You were in the other direction where you're skipping out on meals.
I was skipping out on meals. I don't think I was ever really an overeater. I was definitely an overindulgent when it came to like soda. I used to be a big drinker. I mean, I would come home from high school, right? The first thing you do is you go to the fridge, you pop open a soda while you do homework. Well, then you have another one with dinner, and then maybe you have another one that night. And it's one of those things. I was talking to my cousin Julia last night on my podcast. She kind of joined me for a little bit, and we were talking about it today because she doesn't know much about food labels, about reading food labels. And she's 5'9", 150 pounds of solid muscle. She's a soccer player, softball player.
Oh,
she's
wow.
in great shape. She's in that social media age, right? Where she, posts everything on Snapchat.
Yep.
And they're always posting all their Starbucks drinks and their fast food hauls and all this stuff. And I'm like, do me a favor, download MyFitnessPal, put that stuff into what you're eating and drinking and take a look at it.
Sure. Yeah. Know what you're putting in.
It's kind of eye-opening for kids because especially when Daryl and I have talked about this, I had 6 weeks of in my health class of nutrition in 9th grade. That's the only type of food label education I've ever received in my high school years. 6 weeks. And at 14 years old, that shit went in 1 year and right out the other.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You're worried about, other stuff, more important stuff, right?
And one thing that she didn't realize was, serving size.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at something that says it's 90 calories, but it's got 6 servings in it. And she was like, oh, I thought the whole can was 90 calories. Like, no, that's 90 times.
Yeah, I still have troubles with that even to this day at times. I mean, I know how to read the label, but just the mind saying, okay, just, another bite. It happens. And yeah, I definitely think it's something people should take a closer look at for sure.
And I mean, I was never taught that by my parents. I was never taught, I mean, of course, yeah, here's some asparagus, eat this. Okay, well, mom and dad are finished at the table. They're not at the table. I got a dog underneath the table. Hey, Shadow, you want some asparagus? I had a dog that loved asparagus. I had a dog that loved broccoli. Like, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where when you're a kid, I feel like if it's not ingrained in you,
yes,
from a young age, you don't develop those habits or the taste buds for it. Because there's a lot of stuff that I don't like to eat. I don't like the taste. I don't like the texture because I never had it as a kid. Whereas my 5-year-old nephew,
yes,
my sister's son, he asks all the time, can I have broccoli? Can I have, cauliflower? Can I have asparagus? I want carrots with dinner tonight. Like he asks me stuff because he's been grown up on that.
Yes. That's actually where I was going to go next, because I am one of those people still to this day. Like, I mean, there are a lot of things that I will not touch based on the smell, the texture, stuff that, I wasn't used to eating as a kid. I remember that, like broccoli, I'll zero in on that, for instance. That was like, to me, like a severe punishment if I had to eat broccoli. Like, I mean, I was just terrified. I remember having these babysitters that like practically force fed it to me, and I was just disgusted at the thought of this stuff.
And now what are your thoughts on broccoli?
I still hate it.
You cook it, huh?
I don't go for it. I let my wife, she can have all the damn broccoli she wants. Carrots, I've kind of warmed up to a little bit, but I'll really only eat them in salads. I won't seek them out separately. Or if they're in like some kind of like noodle mixture, chopped up pasta salad kind of thing, I might mess with them there, but that's really about it on those. Green beans, I always did love though, because I had those as a kid. So it really backs up what you're saying. Like the stuff you have as a kid leads into adulthood, because as a kid, I had a lot of green beans and I still love them, and I'll still eat the hell out of some green beans and corn.
Corn was a big staple in our house because it's cheap, and so is zucchini.
Yes.
I love zucchini, and I make it exactly the way my mom used to make it. It's the only way I'll eat it.
I don't know if I've had zucchini yet. I probably have. I just don't remember it because it's not one of the things I eat regularly. But what does the zucchini taste like?
Deliciousness.
Okay, I know that. Can you compare it to anything? I'm sorry.
I mean, zucchini and cucumber, I feel like are kind of the same, but I don't know.
Cucumbers.
You would probably like zucchini then. Hey, Heather, make your husband some damn zucchini, okay?
She's listening in her car right now saying, I'm trying. He's being stubborn. It's exactly what she's thinking right now.
Maybe by the time this podcast reaches the airwaves, you'll have had zucchini.
It's possible. I'll tell you this. I've always thought about like what would be like a really cool video series for like IGTV and my YouTube is like eating stuff on camera that I would never eat, and like just seeing the reaction. Like even if I spit it out and I'm disgusted, like I think it would make for a great video.
There's one guy that I follow on Instagram. He goes by Spicy Poppy Chris, and he had weight loss surgery. I think he just hit his 1-year anniversary actually, and he does a lot of eating videos, and he'll tell you his true opinions on what he's eating. And it's when he eats something he doesn't like, it's hilarious. When he eats something that he absolutely loves, it's hilarious. Like, it's like he says, you know, if you eat something and it tastes good, you might as well just make love to it. And it's so funny the way that he talks about food. Like it cracks me up. If I'm in a bad mood, I go to his page and I watch his stories for the day.
Yeah.
And it just immediately lifts my mood up.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen American Pie a couple of times, and I think Jason Biggs really loves that apple pie. Even though by the time he's done with it, it's like incredibly contaminated, and I wouldn't go near it. But I mean, maybe he's just that passionate about an apple pie. I mean, I love apple pie. I can never say that I've ever tried anything like that, but I will say that I eat it, and I eat it and enjoy it at times.
Yeah, I'm really glad he didn't end up eating the pie after. That would have just made that scene a whole lot more weird.
I'm surprised that like they didn't use that pie as like a gag, like somebody unknowingly hands it to somebody else. Like I know he was at the house alone, but if that pie was in a different context and like, you know, Stifler or somebody passes it off to like Finch or something like that, that could have been disastrous.
They should have had Stifler's mom eat it.
Oh God, Stifler's mom. Oh man, I loved those movies. They were great.
They were hilarious.
Yes, the reunion one they did in 2012 was actually very well done because I felt like they were starting to fall off by American Wedding, but
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, foods for me, it's a very tough thing. I mean, like, what is something that like you will not eat like under any circumstance, even now?
It like just any food?
Yeah. Just give me some examples of like stuff that you just don't like. I'm curious if I'm crazy.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, I don't eat those. I'm with you there.
Smells so bad.
Yeah. Oof.
Oh.
I mean, I've passed gas and it didn't smell that bad. Just being honest.
Right? Can you imagine what your gas would smell like if you did eat Brussels sprouts?
Oh my God. Yeah. My wife, she'll eat them. And I'm like, all right, baby, let me give you a kiss before you start to eat these. I'm just going to say, love you. And okay, now have your Brussels sprouts.
There's a lot of stuff that I don't eat just because I have IBS. So it upsets my stomach, but also like I can't eat ground beef anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's not worth the pain that I feel after or for a few days after. So all my like burgers, meatloaf, tacos, all ground turkey.
That's good stuff though. I love the turkey.
It is so good.
I will devastate some turkey burgers. And back in the day before I got started, I used to eat 2 of them. Now I'm down to 1 without a bun. But I love a good turkey burger.
Yeah, I eat it. Well, I can talk. I eat it with the bun because bread is life. But if I do that, I won't have like French fries or tater tots with it. I'll have a salad. Yeah. That way I feel like I'm somewhat balancing out the bread that I'm eating.
No, I agree. Bread is life. I've not like banned it or anything, but I will tell you that like in certain situations, I'll like, can I in my mind get away with and not desire to have bread? Like, you know, like on the burger, if we have like a chicken patty or something, I can do it now without the bread. Now, if I go out, if I'm out at a restaurant, I'll still have the bread on there or something like that. Because sometimes like those sandwiches are kind of unpredictable. You don't know how messy they're going to be with the ones I make at home, though. I know it's just cheese and like a mayonnaise or something, just a little bit and no bun and I'm good to go. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another food that I absolutely won't eat. It's not really a food, but I'm not a big fan of hummus.
Yeah. I don't like that stuff.
But what I do love though, spinach dip.
What is it?
Spinach dip.
Oh, okay. Spinach
dip. So
at
Walmart, they have one. It's like an artichoke spinach dip. And it's just so good. Ugh. That's one of those things. But that's also one of those things where like, and it's funny, you know, when you think about tracking food, right? Because today is day two of tracking food again for the first time in a couple years.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things you don't think about. Like my cousin Julia, when we were talking about tracking and food and stuff, I said, well, you have to track your pink drink that you had from Starbucks. She goes, why? I'm like, because it's a liquid doesn't mean it doesn't have calories and sugar and, all that carbs. And she was like, oh, I never would have thought about that. I'm like, and any soda that you drink needs to be tracked, like all these things. And it's one of those things where you don't think about the liquid calories, right?
Of course
you just
not.
think food calories.
No, I agree. The drinking calories can be just as impactful, especially like for soda drinkers. And I was so relieved when I heard you say soda as opposed to pop, because I have had a few people on the podcast that call it pop, and I'm like, I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just like, that's weird. Like, to me, that's weird.
Well, I am. So I was born and raised in Pacifica, California, which is a small little beach town about 20 minutes south of San Francisco. So us folk here on the West Coast, we say soda.
Okay, California girl. I like that. I will tell you, I grew up for a small portion of my life in San Diego, which I know is like probably like 6 hours at least away from Northern California.
I'd say from the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, LA is about 6 hours. It's probably 8 hours.
Oh boy, God, that's I never think about that. Like just how truly big California is.
We're a big state.
Yeah, no, it really is. But yeah, San Diego, I don't know if you've ever been down that way, but it was,
I went to school in Southern California.
Yeah, it's nice. But I ended up out here on the East Coast, and I've been stuck out here ever since. Do you like California a lot?
So Matt and I moved from Pacifica to Reno about 3 years ago because we were paying. Okay, are you sitting down? Yeah, you are. Okay, good.
Yes.
So in May of 2014, we moved into a house. Now, mind you, my stepmom had passed away, so my dad was living with us because he wanted to come back from Nevada to California. We let him live with us. It was good for all of us around financially to live in the Bay Area with two income or three people income versus two. We were paying for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house $2,875 a month.
I'm already jealous. I'm living in a 3-bedroom shithole shoebox for $2,100 a month.
So in May of 2016, well, I guess February 2016, our lease was about to be up.
Right.
And we said, we wanted to do another 2-year because we did a 2-year lease. We wanted to do another 2-year. And I talked to my landlord and she goes, okay, well, we're going to increase the rent. I said, okay, I was thinking, $200, $300, whatever. We'll figure it out, make it work.
Right.
She was raising it from $2,875 to $3,600 a month.
All right, that's pretty extreme.
Just because she could. No reason. We were never late on our rent. When the hot water heater went out, she dropped a new one off in the driveway. My ex-husband and my dad installed it for them. We, fixed plumbing issues. We did all the landscaping for the, front and back lawn. Like, we were damn good tenants. But she just said, well, if you're not willing to pay that, then you guys can move out.
Oh my God.
So my dad moved in with his girlfriend. He's still in the Bay Area, and Matt and I moved up to Nevada because we just decided, if we were ever going to buy a house and start a family, we couldn't do that in the Bay Area.
Now, who do you like better as far as just, let's cut the cost of it out of it. Like, what do you prefer, California or Nevada?
California, and it's Nevada, not Nevada.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm just working on this whole teaching you new things every day thing here, Gary.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I like to be corrected. That works.
I grew up in a beach town. My town is a beach town. From the house we lived in Pacifica, I could, walk a mile and be at the beach literally in 20 minutes. And I miss the coast. I miss, being closer to my sister and my nephew and my dad, of course. But I don't miss the traffic.
Oh, I can imagine.
I know you have an atrocious commute every single day.
Yeah. No, me too.
I don't know how you do your commute every day, Gary.
I'm trying to figure that out myself. I don't know how I do it either.
So how far is it mileage wise one way?
About 35 miles.
And how long does it take you?
In the morning, it's about 45 minutes. In the afternoon, it's about an hour and a half.
See, my commute was 24 miles one way from my front door to my work. It would take me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, just depending upon traffic if there was an accident. So Pacifica is a small beach town. It's got a highway, 2 lanes each way. But if there's an accident in one of those lanes and you go down to, and it blocks it off, you go down to one lane, you're basically screwed.
Oh my goodness.
Can't go anywhere. Or if the stoplights on the highway are out due to a power outage, good luck leaving town. The town, I think, is maybe 7 or 8 miles from one end to the other. It's a really small town, but it can take you 45 minutes to go across that town.
Yeah.
I'm actually heading there tomorrow morning with my sister and my nephew and my cousin. It's this annual street fair that they have at the last weekend of September every year. It's called the Pacifica Fog Fest.
Right.
And it's just a big street fair, and I'm going to go and see a bunch of friends and family and just enjoy some quality time back home with people that I love.
Do you ever see yourself coming back to California? Is that like a goal or something that you're even remotely like thinking about? Or
if I marry a rich doctor or win the lotto, yes. And if I can be a stay-at-home mom that doesn't have to leave her house, yes.
Okay.
Now that I've been in Reno for a couple of years, I'm spoiled with traffic because there's really no traffic in Reno.
Yeah.
And I do love Reno is a great town in terms of there's a lot to do. You're an hour from Lake Tahoe. You're, 30, 40 minutes from Truckee. It's such a beautiful area. And there's a lot to do for, single people my age. So it's a lot of fun. I just got, this new job at the gym where I'm supervisor of the kids club now. I actually officially start that position as supervisor on Monday when I go back home.
Oh, how awesome.
And I'm really excited. Yeah, yesterday at work I had 6 babies at one time, so it was great.
Wow. I've never been to Reno before. I've only been to Las Vegas. I guess that's where everybody thinks when they go to Nevada, that's where they go, right?
I've never been to Vegas.
Never.
No.
Why the hell not?
We should find a race to do in Las Vegas, just not in the summertime because we'll all die.
Well, that is true, but how have you not? You've been there 3 years. It's never come up once. Vegas
is an 8-hour drive from Reno.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm with you now. Now I'm with you. I might have to be out on that myself. That is quite a hike.
It is. It's only like an hour and a half flight, but I'm not a big partier. I don't really like to gamble. I don't really like to drink. So I just feel like Vegas is pretty much just all that. So it's not really my scene. I think I'll, go maybe for just to say I've been, to say that I've seen, this, that, or the other. But for the most part, and at this point, I got to be saving my money for Flying Pig next year. So I can't go to Vegas.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think everybody should go at least once. I will say this, there's a lot of walking to be done in Vegas, and that's what I absolutely loved. Like, I purposely asked the hotel to put me on a high floor, and I didn't take the elevator. I always took the stairs. Because that was just something that I really enjoyed. Unless I was coming in really late, then of course I would take the elevator, but primarily it was the stairs. And who doesn't want to just walk down the streets where you can openly have an alcoholic beverage of your choosing and potentially have a hooker offer you drugs? This is a great place to be, folks. And I'm not Valerie, that is not an exaggeration. That is not exaggerated for podcast and or radio. That is like actual facts. Okay.
That is insane. Like, it happens in Reno too. If you go downtown, a certain hour of the night, but
sure.
Goodness gracious. People in some people's children, Gary, some people's children.
You're absolutely right. I was sitting at the Stratosphere back in 2010. I went there with my biological father, and he went off to play some games. And I'm sitting there at the slots, and this very attractive, very athletically fit looking woman that, to my perspective, would never have a single interest in me because I was much bigger, yada, 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 approaches me and starts, asking me, how long have I been in town? How long am I staying? Where am I staying? What do I like to do for fun? Blah, blah, blah. And I knew where she was going with that. And I was just like, this is Vegas. This is crazy. It really is. It's absolutely wild. I mean, I'm just like, I mean, you know, I was broke for one. I was also, you know, dating my wife at the time, more importantly for two. So I'm not interested, and I don't know where this chick has been, but like that just to me was just like, I was like, this is so weird. It was like weird to me because, you know, like when you think like guys or a girl, like we're like, oh, I would kill for somebody like really attractive, come and approach me and start striking up a conversation. But like when it actually happens and you know the real reason, it freaks you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt uncomfortable.
So it's so funny. So I basically have been attached for the last 10 years. And so for the first time in my life, I'm not attached. And even at this concert last night, you know, just getting looks or just someone trying to, it's just weird to me. Like dating in general is weird. Flirting is weird. I don't know how to do this. I'm very out of like, is there a flirting 101 for 33-year-olds class that I can take to like learn this stuff? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I don't know. I mean, if I, you know, I will say this right now. I hope that this never ever happens, but God forbid if something were to ever happen between me and my wife and I would have to potentially go back out onto the scene, the single scene, and have to mingle with people, I would be screwed because I would be lost. I'm with you on that. Like, I don't know, like what you even do because we, you know, I'm also a person that's been with somebody for a majority of my life, like, you know, different people at different times, but like, I could relate to that. Like, I don't know what you would even do, you know?
It's weird. And, but I will say, if anything, you know, God forbid ever happens with you and Heather, can I be in charge of your Tinder account? Cause that could be really fun for me.
I don't even, you know, I know what Tinder is, but like I will ask my friend who is single and he'll tell me about like all these dating apps. And I'm just like fascinated by it. So like just right off the bat, are you on any of these sites?
I do have a Tinder account and a Bumble account, which is, they're kind of the same thing.
Yes.
They say that Bumble is the classier version of Tinder. And this is very new to me. This is all because I mean, my divorce just finalized in August.
Sure.
And it's been interesting. Some of the things that I've been asked or questions that I've been asked or just the people that, you know, have their profiles and either their pictures or their descriptions or what they say. I'm like, well, why would you? And it's really funny. So I think with girls' profiles, it's pretty much, you know, cute selfies or full pictures or pictures of them hiking or whatever it is, right?
Sure.
But with guys, it's really funny. You have a picture of them with a beard and then no beard and then long hair and short hair. And then maybe they're a little chubby in one and a little skinny in the other. I'm like, well, which version of you am I getting? There's 7 versions of you on this profile. Which one is you now? Can you tell me which one that is? Of all these little thumbnails, which one are like, cause you know, well, and it's funny because a lot of this stuff, you know, is, oh, they're attractive and I like what they have to say. I'll swipe right on them.
Sure.
And then if you match, you know, then you can converse if you want to and go from there. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. This is left. No. And it's interesting. And I've been on 2 dates.
Yes.
And they were first dates. There have not been second dates. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough.
It's, I mean, you know, I got free food. It's all good. But it's weird to me. And it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, if I meet someone and we hit it off and it's good, then there'll be a second date. But if there's not, then, you know, phones can block phone numbers now. And it's just a wonderful thing.
It really is. It really is. I mean, what would because I asked my buddy, we talk about it. He tells me about, you know, the Tinder and the Bumble, and he's on both of those. I don't know if he's on Facebook dating now. I hear that's a new thing, but let me get the female perspective. Like, what is the craziest ass thing you've ever like seen or heard or like in any kind of interaction? You know, obviously if this is crazy, it probably didn't lead to a date, but like, what is like the wildest thing you've gotten on there?
So a lot of accounts, it'll be like a guy. And then when you match with them and they start mentioning, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm married. Can you keep a secret? So there's been those.
Yeah.
Or there's okay, so I know that this is me, but like me and my girlfriend are looking for a unicorn, which is basically a third person to join their relationship.
Sure.
Not interested in that. not to say that I'm not attracted to women, because I am, but I don't want to get in the middle of your mess.
Sure.
That's a mess. I don't need that.
Now, do you classify yourself on there as somebody that, kind of goes in both directions? Do people know that, or is this kind of like new information here?
No, it's classified, or not. It's not classified.
Right.
My profile, I think it says, I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, in my search, so I don't think you could do it on Tinder, but on Bumble, you can say that you're interested in both. And so when you're swiping, both male and females will come up. And I've recently come out to my family in terms of just telling them that, hey, I do like women. Within this year, I've told them.
Sure.
And I don't know if it was, my divorce was going through and everything like that. Matt and I were no longer together. Matt knew from, because we were best friends before we were ever boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, whatever.
Right.
A lot of people knew, but I never came out and told my family. And I've had mixed reactions from my family, and that's been kind of hard to deal with.
I can imagine.
But at the same time, I look at it as, if I'm happy in a relationship, whether that's with a man or that's with a woman, that should be all that matters. If I'm being treated well and I'm happy and I enjoy this person's company, why does it matter what genitalia they have?
No, I agree. And actually the whole reason why I asked was I was wondering, had you ever gotten any kind of like crazy messages from, females similar to what you're talking about with the males, where they're like asking for like weird, crazy things? I'm wondering if that's even like a thing.
I've been asked by a female, they're like, oh, a lot of these questions, a lot of these apps are considered hookup apps, right? Like everyone's just looking to hook up with somebody.
Sure. Yes.
And this girl said, I live in the Bay Area, but I'm in Reno once a month. When I come to town, would you want to go and have dinner? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like you seem like a nice, normal person, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she would come to town and she had said, oh, I'm in town. I wasn't in town, so we couldn't meet up. She goes, well, it's really disappointing. I was really looking forward to hooking up with you. And I said, oh, well, I'm more than just a hookup girl. Like, that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And she started getting a little explicit with things. And I was like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
Can you back it off a little bit? But I did have one guy ask if I would send him a picture of my feet. And that was a quickly unmatch real quick.
Good Lord. Is that like really a thing? That's not like, you're not joking, right? I mean, that's like really a thing.
I've had men ask for various pictures, but yeah, he wanted a picture. He goes, I really like feet, do you like foot massages? And I was like, well, who doesn't like a foot massage, right? Like, hello, I go get pedicures.
Yes.
Yeah, I like foot massages. He goes, well, I have a foot fetish. And I said, you are never putting my feet in your mouth. That's just not happening. I feel like Rachel is really going to love this part of this podcast. And just, no, it's not happening. He said, well, send me a picture of your feet. And I said, absolutely not. No, because I don't know what, no, it's just not happening. And it's one of those things where I don't have a lot of friends in Reno just because, I was attached. We did stuff together. I never developed like a group of girlfriends in Reno.
Sure.
I have a couple friends, but they work weird hours or they have kids. So it's hard to kind of schedule stuff with them. And I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big partier. So it's not like I go to bars, whatever. And that's not really where I want to meet anybody anyway. And I don't know. I saw my best friend was like, well, just try Tinder, try Bumble and see what happens. And we're about a month in here and I'm just overwhelmed. This is just too much for me. I've met one person that I kind of like.
Yes.
And he's younger than me though. So we'll see what happens.
No, I think that's great. And I think that there are apps out there that are like, just like looking for friends, not even like relationship or like quote unquote hooking up. But I guess you probably have to do your due diligence as far as like filtering out some people there, because you may get people that are using that as leverage to try to get in the other way. But I think that there are like different apps out there that like where you're just looking like strictly for a friend, or different, Facebook groups or whatever that you can kind of get into if that's, if you're seeking out, just people to hang out with.
Bumble actually has a friend. They have 3 parts to their app. One is dating, one is friends, and one is like networking. So I am on the friends one, and I have met a couple people, where people have similar interests. Like I really like to go hiking. I really like to try new restaurants. I do like to, go wine tasting, things like that. So, I just haven't really explored that as much.
Sure.
So I just to figure that out.
No, that's fair. Would you classify yourself as somebody that's like, outgoing, or you have more introverted tendencies? Like, where do you fall into that?
So I'm one of those people, I can talk to just about anybody.
Yes.
I can strike up a conversation. Funny story. I struck up a conversation with the man about a book he was reading inside Taco Bell once.
How did that go for you?
My best friend Courtney was with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that book. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, not you, the guy. And the guy's like, have you read this book? And I was like, yeah. And we got into a 20-minute conversation over tacos about the book he was reading.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
But I would say I'm an extroverted introvert in terms of I like to be social. I like to be out and, making memories with friends and family, and just I like to, I can talk to people. I'm very personable, but there are times when, and it tends to be when my depression starts to creep up and my anxiety gets really bad, that I'm just like, I can't people today. Like, I just want to be by myself. Just give me my dog and we'll just have a grand old time staying home today. So it just depends.
Yeah. I feel like in my mind, I want to be more of an outgoing person, hence, doing like podcasts and going to things like the Flying Pig and meeting people. But at the same time, I feel like maybe I could bother people. And so I tend to like be closed off. And then there are the other times where like I want to be to myself, but like I have this really weird fear that like I'm suddenly going to be bothering people. And so as a result, I don't even like approach people a lot of times.
See, you strike me as very outgoing because I watch your IGTVs, I've watched your YouTube channel, I've seen the vlogs and everything like that, especially, like how you were in Sandusky with Kate and Kyle last weekend and you were recording everything. Like I would be self-conscious recording myself like that.
Yeah, but I feel like when the camera's on, it's like it's like a comfort where I could hear how many people would say that would be a discomfort for them. Like, like you're just saying, like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with doing that. For some reason, I get comfortable bringing out the camera, even though I know that there are people watching and looking and wondering like what the hell is going on. Now, I will say in this day and age, it's becoming less weird to people because, that's kind of like a standard thing that, people are vloggers. But, for some reason, when I turn on that camera, I feel comfortable just chatting it up and I don't give a shit who's thinking about whatever. I'm just about it. And it's really weird. I can't explain it. But meanwhile, if that camera's not on, and I'm just like hanging out somewhere, you'd have to like push me to go up and just randomly talk to like some other dude or whatever. Like, hey dude, what's up? Or just try to strike up a conversation. It would be weird for me. I don't know why that is.
Have you ever encountered someone that says like, why are you filming or stop filming or things like that?
No, I never, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Fortunately, I've never run into that particular issue. More or less, it's usually people just asking, oh, hey, what's that? I see you got the camera there. Like, what do you do with that? Or people say, do you do that YouTube thing? And that's kind of cool. When I was in Charlotte, where I met Kaitlyn and Kyle also, and I was doing that like all day vlog, when I was walking around the park, people would stop me like, oh, that's so cool. You're vlogging, or people in the Culvers. In fact, at the end of the video, I like talked to some of the people on camera. Like they were like, yo, can we come on your vlog? And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. It seems like a lot of the younger crowd, like kids 12 and younger, they were like asking their dads, like, can we go up and ask this guy like what he's doing? Like it was like 3 different kids with parents like that came up to me in the Culvers that were like inquiring about what I was doing in there with the camera, even though it wasn't filming, it was just sitting there on the table. And I think that that's just so cool that they were kind of very curious about it.
And then at the end of that, you invited them to Flying Pig and told them to use code Gary10, right?
You're awesome. That is so cool. I hadn't even thought about saying anything yet. And you just brought it right out.
Well, I thought about it too, because I have a reminder in my phone that I need to register. I have not registered yet.
Oh,
and so
wow.
I have a little note saved saying, don't forget to use code Carrington.
You're gonna have to be my hype person. I'm gonna have to put you on the imaginary Monopoly Money payroll, and have you be my hype person.
I will gladly accept that job.
Okay, cool. You're hired. Boom. Done. Everybody's got, I hear Daryl talking about how all these people have different like managers or different, agents or whatever. Valerie, you are my hype person. That's it. Yeah. You're hired.
And then Willie's in charge of the Daryl Perry network, right?
I think so. I think I want to say I was the person that coined that phrase, the Daryl Perry network, and I think he just ran with it, and that's completely fine because I don't have enough time in the day to even try to manage his network. So I'm staying as far away from that as possible, except for the Mondays when he has me on for the weekly spark or the quarterly fire, as he calls it, when he comes on here. That's about my limited kind of involvement with the DPN, the Daryl Perry network.
I wonder by Flying Pig how many phones he's going to have.
I'm counting on him more than 10.
More than 10?
Yes, he's going to have a necklace like Flava Flav, like has that big chain with the clock. Daryl's going to have the big chain with phones. Or
he's going to have a trench coat, right, with like 6 pockets on each side, and you can fit one phone in each pocket.
I love that. That's going to be phenomenal. He's going to be just walking around with these phones like, well, let me tell you something. I just love all my phones and I love recording my podcasts. And here I am on this podcast and on my one phone. And I'm just looking at Instagram on the other. And I got my Facebook here and my LinkedIn here. I mean, he's really all over the place, this guy. He's got the Daryl Perry network, the DPN Daryl Perry network. That's my best radio voice thing. He can use that for free, by the way. But that, like, this guy, he's on like a different level, I think.
So that he's the reason I have a podcast, right?
Please. All you had to say was, I once talked to Daryl, and then if you said, hey, I have a podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I expected that. Come on.
Well, so what had happened was I had been talking to him prior to me starting this 100-day challenge on July 29th.
Yes.
And I've always wanted to do I listen to you guys all on your podcast now because I didn't really get into listening to podcasts until about the month of July of this year.
Okay.
And I was listening to some stuff and I was like, this is, we all have a story to tell, right? I have a story to tell, especially my weight loss journey of going up and down and dealing with my 3 autoimmune disorders and, the emotional side of my divorce because we separated in November of last year. So I could have made 2019 a complete wash and just been like, nope.
Sure.
Too much shit going on. It's too hard. I'm not going to focus on weight loss this year. And I won't say that I focus 100% of my time on weight loss, but I've had my ebbs and flows this year. And I'd say 80% of the time I've been focused on staying consistent, putting the work in, eating better, drinking my water, doing all the things, right?
Yeah.
I told him, he said, well, why don't you come on my podcast? And this was day 1. So since July 29th.
Yes.
And he's like, let's do a Resilient AF episode. And he uses the Anchor app. And we got about 8 minutes in 3 times and it cut us off. And so finally we're like, fuck it. Anchor is being a pain in the ass.
Yes.
So finally, I think I used my tablet and we just did a full podcast episode. And then that later, I think it was probably about 2 hours later that day, I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I downloaded the Anchor app. I uploaded my first episode and I've done 1 episode every single day.
And how do you feel about it now? Like, you feel like you're really like deeply into it. Could you imagine a world where you're not podcasting now?
Doing it daily. I'm kind of over the daily part right now, but
sure.
I've got, 39 more days to go here. Kind of overdoing it daily just because I feel like I don't have much to talk about anymore. I've talked about a lot of stuff. Some stuff that's been really inspirational, some stuff that's really pissed a lot of people off. Some stuff that has been like, I don't know if you know this, but Rachel and I did a sex podcast episode.
I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
We made Daryl listen to it.
Oh, Daryl, what a guy.
And so, basically, and I wanted to do an episode with someone who had been overweight, had lost weight, and just kind of talk about, women's bodies, women's self-image with weight loss, without weight loss, like, and how it affects you mentally in terms of being intimate with somebody. And it was a really funny, but really eye-opening podcast. And I've gotten it's had the most plays on my channel. It's had the most feedback that I've gotten from women who are like, there needs to be more stuff like this out there. Because with Rachel, she was saying, when I was at my heaviest weight and I would be intimate with a man, they knew what they were getting in terms of my size and all that. But then when I lost the weight and I look slimmer in clothes, and then I take my clothes off and I have saggy skin and I have this and this, and it was almost like I was deceiving them. And so it's one of those topics that people don't talk about. And I think actually Gormy and Alex talked about it on Gormy's Fat Guy Forum podcast, and from the male perspective of it all. And I think that it's one of those things that people just, it's taboo, right? It's brushed under the rug. Nobody talks about those sorts of things, but weight loss plays a factor in our mental health so much. I think you and Willie actually just did an episode about it.
Yes.
And people don't think about the mental side of it.
No, they definitely don't. And I think that, it needs to be taken more seriously now more than ever. I mean, I'm going through my own shit right now, but, it's a whole thing. So, I mean, I think people really need to definitely zero in on the mental side of it and not make it all about the physical side of it, and really evaluate where their head is at any given time, and make sure that they are in a good spot,
I mean, the side effect of all this is weight loss, right? Like our weight's coming down. We're supposed to, air quotes there, feel better about ourselves, have more confidence, be more comfortable in our body, feel more comfortable in clothes, all of these things. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not happy with who you see in the mirror at your heaviest weight, you're sure as hell not going to be happy with who you see in the mirror at your lowest weight. You can't just expect that happiness is going to come to you with weight loss.
No, I agree.
That's not how it works. And I feel like a lot of people, I do follow a lot of weight loss surgery accounts on Instagram. And it's not because I'm considering weight loss surgery. It's just because I find them to be very inspirational and motivating.
Yes.
But a lot of people are like, I look at my body now and I have all this loose skin, and I have, some people wear it as a badge of honor, right? Like Gormy and Alex and all these people wear it as a badge of honor. But then there are some people who are like, this is fucking with my head too much. And they go and they have the skin removal surgery, which is great. I mean, look at Lexi. Lexi had her surgery. She looks phenomenal.
She does. Yeah.
John Arpino, Jarp's Journey. He just had his skin removal surgery, I think like this last week.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where like, just because you lost the weight doesn't mean you're going to like what you see in the mirror.
No, it's very true. I mean, I lost a little over 100 pounds, and there are still days where I'm not, happy with everything. And the weight loss does not equal happiness at all. You have to get the happiness in your head 100%. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
And I think a lot of that too stems for who you have in your life, right? Like your support system has to be there for you.
It is 100% who you surround yourself with. Yes.
The beauty of Instagram?
Yes.
The beauty of Instagram that I have found is that unfollow button.
Yes. It's very powerful.
You are no longer providing positive content to my life. I don't wish to see this negative Nancy attitude. Unfollow. That's
all. It just takes one click. I mean, I know I've definitely dealt with it.
Sometimes too, because they say, are you sure you want to unfollow?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am. Thank you for double checking. But yes, I'd like to unfollow this account for X, Y, and Z. And some people get so mad when people unfollow them. And some people have unfollowed me. And you know what? If you don't like what I'm putting out, you don't like what I'm saying, you have the right to unfollow me. But I've had some people come at me and be like, you do a lot of the same stuff. You say a lot of the same stuff. Your account's very repetitive. You should come up with new material.
That's ridiculous.
My account is very consistent. Every day you see me do my boomerang, crossing off my days. Every day you see my boomerang, pouring my pre into my cup. Every day you see me post a picture pointing to my calendar, showing that I've done that workout. If you don't like that, get the fuck out of here.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, okay, Valerie, can I present you with an idea?
Yes.
Okay. So, I actually have to run. My wife and I have plans this evening. I have loved this conversation. I feel like the two of us, if neither one of us had a plan, we could probably sit here for 3 hours and it could be the longest Gary Cantrell podcast ever. But why don't we do this? If this is okay with you, I think we should do a part 2 and we should take it over to your podcast in the very near future. And we can continue this conversation. We can branch off into other things. I feel like this is one of many podcasts with the two of us on it, because I really love that the chemistry we've had here and talking, and you've been so gracious with your time and sharing your story. Would you be okay with continuing this in a part 2 on your podcast in the very near future?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's do that. And before we like properly wrap up, tell people, because I think you had such a strong message there. If you don't like what you see on my Instagram, get the fuck out. I love that. They want to come on and be inspired, hit that follow button. So tell people, number 1, where to get you on Instagram, number 2, where to get the podcast, and number 3, anything else that you may have. The floor is yours.
So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is sweating until happy. There's an underscore after every word. So sweating underscore until happy underscore. My podcast is called Sweating Until Happy 100. You can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts. Unfortunately, not on iTunes, because iTunes hates me.
We're going to see about getting that fixed for you.
I tried to do what you said, right? Upload the RSS feed.
Yes.
And it told me that my podcast has been blocked. I have failed validation. So now I got to go through Apple support, and who knows if I'm ever going to be on iTunes.
Oh, good Lord. We'll put our heads together. We're going to figure out something on that.
But I mean, I guess the one thing that, I always tell people at the end of my podcast is do one thing today that your future self will thank you for. And I firmly believe that, because you have to set the foundation now. And whether it's today, you're going to drink 8 more ounces of water than you drank yesterday, or you're going to walk another block, or you're going to walk another mile. Like, you have to start somewhere. You have to be fed up with being the way that you are. And if you don't hit your rock bottom, and if you're not fed up, change is not going to come to you. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, get rid of those negative people, and just push forward every single day.
I love that. Valerie, thank you so much for your time and coming on here and hanging out with me for a little bit. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll talk very soon about getting this other podcast scheduled, and we'll continue this conversation. I think there's a lot more to be said. I really appreciate your time.
Of course. And we'll be seeing each other in Cincinnati for Flying Pig. Use code Gary10.
You're such a pro. My hype person. I love it right there. Valerie, Sweating Until Happy. Go find her on the Instagram. Thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Gary. Take care.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer, and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show, and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.